Welcome back, everyone. Staring from Staring Gaming here. Today we're running the spires of... Actually, not spires. It's actually called Skyreach. My bad. But, yeah, this was a dungeon that was more or less a mid-tier dungeon back in the expansion of Warlords of Draenor. So, as you can see, the little opening stage, little scene here, is you're stealthed on a raven flying into the base of the Akarat. And there's your first boss, Renjit.
Destroy their false sun, that we may meet again in the shade.
Now, back then, you could only really want to pull these groups one at a time, because if you ended up getting more than one group, you're almost guaranteed to wipe. Also, the Soul Familiar was casting Flashbang. If you're staring at it when it finishes that cast, you pretty much get stunned and blinded for a few seconds. Now you see we're already at the first boss, Ranjit. And see there's 4 bosses. Now Ranjit's a pretty easy fight as long as you pay attention to the mechanics. Now the 4 winds, it creates a vortex in the center where 4 lines of wind will start rotating. As long as you don't touch the lines of wind, you won't take damage. Now Spinning Blade, he'll just throw this, they'll inflict physical damage to anyone caught in the path. Fan of Blades is an AoE which causes all targets to bleed over 6 seconds. Windfall is when he hurls a wind chakram at a random enemy, it will actually put a wind wall at that location with 2 lines of wind slowly moving around in a circle. You're hit by this, you'll take nature damage. Now for tanks, Piercing Rush is when he winds up for his attack doing a large amount of physical damage to the current target. Now since we're on Heroic, we have Lens Flare. High Sage here will actually help Ranjit by calling down a beam of sunlight, and it will focus on a random target. It will slowly fall to the ground, leaving behind burning pools that do some massive fire damage back then to targets. Now let's see if I can get him to do some of his abilities. There we go.
I will slice the flesh from your bones.
And there's Spinning Blade. As you can see, it goes in round of an arc. There's the Wind Chakram with the wind wall, as you can see. And that was his piercing charge right there. We're going to see if we can get him to activate his big ability. Here's the 4 winds.
You cannot outrun the wind.
Now, as you see, you actually have an achievement for this boss known as Ready for Rating 4. You had to defeat him without taking any damage from the abilities known as Spinning Blade, Windfall, 4 Winds, or Lens Flare. Now, this isn't a group achievement. You can get this solo if you're in a group. It also gives you this 5-minute buff that causes you to dance a bit. Now, after one group, you're already at the second boss.
Arise, my creation! Slay these intruders!
Once you kill the Arcanologist here, Atharnak here will be active. Now, Arcanak has just 3 basic abilities. Smash, which does ground damage to all enemies in the area. Burst is when he releases energy to all enemies in 100 yards, and every time he uses this, the damage of burst gets increased by 7% every time, and it will stack. Now, Energize. This is when it reflects incoming light rays from these constructs you see around the room. and it will actually heal this construct for 1.25 of its maximum health every second. Now, you can actually intercept this speed by staying between it and the boss, but you will take fire damage every second, but it's better than letting him, or this construct, heal itself. We're going to see if we can activate the beam ability so you understand. There's his physical damage, slam. Or smash, I guess it's called. It's a slam, smash, whatever you want to call it. Now, those are the beams that are going to heal it. It just casts burst. And as you see, its burst damage got boosted. Surprisingly, the first, second, and third bosses are pretty close to one another. The high stage is the one you gotta fight through a bunch of ads and stuff in order to get to. Now, my advice back then is you pull these groups single at a time, because these birds actually randomly fixate on targets. So the tank can actually not hold aggro on these sun talons. Now, when it comes to the ones here, he can hold aggro, or she. They, whatever you want to say. Now, a little opposite here. For Beast Mastery Hunters, you can actually come in here and tame this boss here. A Rukon here has 4 basic abilities. Pierce Armor, which healers and tanks need to be aware of. Now, when he does this, he puts this on them, causing them to receive 30 more damage from Pierce Armor moves for each app, and this will stack. But it does not apply to anyone's using their active mitigation. Now, as you see, it causes them to take more armor. Now, if a tank has one of his mitigations on, I believe the effect cannot be put on them. Now, it does summon Solar Flare, which there will be piles of ash, as you can see here. Once it casts that, a little phoenix will be born and will fixate on random player. Now, Sunstrike, it'll explode if it gets to the one it's fixating, causing fire damage to everyone. And if it's within any pile of ashes, it activates them too, which means you even get more of these guys up. Now, Quills is an ability that Rukar here will cast, where everyone needs to get behind here and hide while it's being cast, because it is a very deadly ability on Heroic. And Screech is just does physical damage to everyone, and they'll take increased damage from Screech and Quills. Now we're going to try to get some of the abilities active. Or I'm going to end up critting with my Frost Shock. Now this one could be a bit of a pain for people, because you're actually running against the wind while trying not to take too much damage from the birds here, which they can hurt. Plenty of people I've seen get killed by just these birds alone. So if you actually have a speed burst, a speed increased movement ability, I would use it to kind of hopefully not get hit by the birds. Now, as you can see, you can't really shortcut this. Now, this will go away once you kill this group right here. As you can see, once they're dead, all the birds go away and the wind disappears as well. Now you can go any pathway up here. It takes you all the way to the same. Most grips go to the right, but whenever I'm tanking, I prefer to go to the left. Now this one has multiple parts, but you can just focus on one because they all take the same amount damage. More or less, all these bars you see here on this, it's all linked together. Share all the same HP. Now here's the High Sage. Also, if you're You gotta do this with another person, I believe, but if you two-man this, when it casts his one of his abilities, if you were to jump down here and have that ability hit this little uncharged construct, it will unlock an achievement for you. And that ability, I believe, is Lens Flare. That's what you need that to hit the construct. But let's get all the abilities here. Now, the High Sage will summon a Solar Zealot to grab a player and throw him off the balcony. Basically, it's going to be an ad that slowly moves his way off to this side. If they get to the edge here, you're going to get killed. Now, this ad is actually susceptible to stuns and CC, so please use those effectively. Now, I said Lance Flare, just like with Ranjit, it will cast down a beam of light that will leave behind fire pools as it chases a random victim. Solar Burst, which should be interrupted, does some massive fire damage. And through the fight, there will be a construct that shows up right here on this little, I guess we'll call this a star symbol. And if it finishes casting shielding, it prevents the boss here, the High Sage, taking any damage. Now, you can interrupt this shielding or stun, but burn down the ad as fast as possible to avoid this from happening. Hopefully, we're going to get this High Sage to do some of the abilities here.
We will cast you down
Also,
like the mongoose.
You want to pull the boss back as far as you can because of the ads that will grab people and make them fly off. Now, here's Solar Burst. It's more or less like a Druid Solar Round.
Cast them down! Let the scavengers below feed on their pulp.
Now, as you see, I'm being pulled away. The person who's been grabbed can actually DPS the ad as well.
Behold the might of the Arakor!
And here's the Lens Flare, as you can see.
Ah! Servants! Protect your master!
Now there's the Skyreach shield module construct.
Ah! We will always soar!
But that's been Skyreach, staring from a staring game in here, asking to please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, go check out my Twitch channel. We stream 5 out of 7 days. Once we get up to affiliate and partners, we're planning on doing a full week streaming. Until then, I'll see y'all later.